Charlie Kirk is dead. An American, a dad, a husband, is dead. And the person who assassinated him, the political assassin who took his life in Utah, is still out there on the run somewhere in America. Like him, despise him, he was still a human, he was still an American, and today he's dead. Charlie Kirk, we know, and let me say this before I begin, because I vehemently disagree with many of the policies, many of the ideas that Charlie believed in. There's probably not one policy that you can point to and that we would agree on. We know that Charlie Kirk was a man who stirred passion. He stirred division. He stirred debate. But today, one thing's for certain, his life was taken by a political assassin for speaking his truth, or what he believed to be his truth, for using his voice, for taking advantage of his First Amendment right. Today, he's no longer with us. His death is not just a loss of an individual. It's the loss of a human being, the loss of an American. But it's also a mirror held up to America, showing us both what inspires hope and what threatens our unity as a nation, the very thing that should be bringing us together, making us have more debates, sparking conversation and dialogue. And whether you like this guy or disliked him, you can't take away from the fact that Charlie Kirk was not a small figure in the American story. He rose from obscurity to become one of the most recognizable voices of the conservative movement. Not a movement I wanted to be a part of, but he grew that movement. He was young, he was ambitious, and he was relentless. To some, he gave them purpose, he gave them a voice. To others, to some of us, he represented division and harm. In truth, though, both realities lived inside of him. And that's why his passing demands an honest reflection. Because I've heard a lot of news coverage. I wasn't going to speak on this, but I've heard a lot of news coverage. And it's been very lopsided. It's almost like there's a picture being painted that's not being honest, that's not being realistic, and that's really not helping us to solve the problem for how we ended up here and for why Charlie Kirk is no longer with us. So let's begin with what can't be denied. Charlie Kirk was a builder. Didn't build the type of movement that I wanted to be a part of, or maybe that you didn't want to be a part of. But there were some people who wanted to be a part of the movement that he built. So he was a builder. He co-founded Turning Point USA, which was a campus movement that grew into a powerful organization with a massive reach. That's why he was on the college campus in Utah, doing what he always does, doing what he's been doing ever since he was an 18-year-old kid, traveling around to college campuses and debating his peers or debating members of the community on the ideas that he believed in, conservative versus liberal. He energized, he absolutely energized young conservatives in a way that few others could. He gave them community. He gave them some form of identity, and he gave them the courage to challenge dominant narratives on their campuses, to spark debate, to have dialogue, to have tough conversations, the way young folks should be doing on college campuses. Charlie Kirk, 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, he mastered the modern tools of communication. Podcasts, long before I was podcasting, he was podcasting, posting on social media, had live streams. He knew how to package an argument for the digital age. Like it or dislike it, he knew how to package that argument. He was bold, sometimes brash, but he inspired political participation in a generation that too often checks out. And beyond politics, you have to recognize that in America, you don't become a Charlie Kirk unless you've got some qualities worth acknowledging. Obviously, he had drive, he had discipline, and an unwavering belief in the power of individual agency. He lived his convictions in the arena of ideas, never content to sit on the sidelines. Like him or hate him, That's just an honest truth. That's who he was. That's what led him to become the Charlie Kirk who people either followed or who people wish they could just turn off. For many Americans, especially those who felt unheard, like so many folks do out there, like so many people in the MAGA movement does, Charlie Kirk words were oxygen to the fire that began to burn inside of them. He showed them that they mattered in public debate. He showed them that they mattered in democracy. And folks, again, if you like him or hate him, that matters because we want people engaged in the politics of this nation. But also, I recognize that the truth demands honesty. And this is what pushed me to record this episode. Because Charlie Kirk's legacy is not only about inspiration, it's also about division. Yes, his rhetoric was often very inflammatory. He often crossed the line from persuasion to demonization. He made opponents into enemies and disagreement into hatred. All too often, that's what people began to dislike about him. His platform sometimes amplified conspiracy theories, mistrust of institutions, and the vilification of fellow Americans. The ugly truth is this: Charlie Kirk was part of a movement that normalized political cruelty, to mock, to insult, to belittle. That became a part of his brand, and it fed into an already fractured America. Folks, political violence does not come out of nowhere. What we saw on those videos in Utah, that does not just come out of nowhere. It grows in soil that's far too often watered by words of contempt, by words of hatred, by condescending, by talking down on, by making people believe that they're less than. And whether he intended it or not, Charlie Kirk's voice helped cultivate that soul. In his pursuit of influence, which he became the ultimate influencer, in his pursuit of influence, he sometimes sacrificed nuance for outrage, facts for clicks, empathy for applause. That is the ugly side of a digital age in which conflict pays more than cooperation. We can recognize his talents. We can mourn his death. We can have empathy for his wife and children. We can feel human about another person losing their life in this moment. That shouldn't stop us from still admitting the truth. Charlie Kirk helped fuel a politics of division that, yes, helped to harm America. So what does the assassination, the political assassination of another American mean? What does the political assassination of Charlie Kirk mean for us now? First, it's a reminder of the fragility of this nation. That no matter how powerful, no matter how loud, no matter how young, we are all mortal. In a heartbeat, the microphone falls silent. And we are left not with the man, but with the consequences of his words and his deeds, be them good or bad. Second, his passing forces America to wrestle with this question: what kind of politics do we want in this country? Do we want a politics where disagreement is grounded in respect, or a politics where winning requires scorched earth? Because here's a reality: we can't counsel or kill our way into coexisting with one another. We have to decide, who are we going to be as a people, as Americans? And what are we going to allow America to become? That's a question that we've got to wrestle with right now. The truth is, we are already seeing the cost of division in this country: broken communities, fractured friendships, violence in the streets, and leaders who far too often exploit hate instead of healing wounds. And let me say this. Let me say this. If you're out there on the right, you're part of the conservative movement, because I've heard a lot of conservative pundits and podcasters and bloggers talking about, civil war and declaring war on the Democrats. Folks, that's not what this moment should be about. If Charlie Kirk is going to be a martyr for something, don't let him be a martyr for a movement. Let him be a martyr for our nation whose democracy is in demise. If you're going to fight for something, fight for those words, the United States of America, because every day our nation seems to be slipping away. We should be coming together in this moment, not looking for further division. And if you're on the left, if you're liberal, Democrat, and you're out there jumping for joy, happy and excited because a 31-year-old American has been cut down in this country, then you need to be asking yourself when you look in the mirror, what kind of person am I? What type of darkness lives in me that I would applaud this type of chaos in our nation? You can call me delusional or call me a hopeful optimist, but I still believe that in this country, we can do better, that we can find unity, that we can coexist. We can, but we have to be intentional about doing better. We have to be intentional about making sure that America lives up to everything that we believe it can be. Charlie Kirk's life, and now his death, should serve as a warning siren. But it can also be a turning point. His story gives us a chance to choose differently, to build a politics where passion is matched with compassion, where debate sharpens ideas without shattering communities, where we honor each other's humanity even when we disagree. Because that's what democracy should be about, disagreeing and still being able to coexist in a nation built on the foundation of differences. If Charlie Kirk's legacy is to mean anything to anyone out there, it should be this: America must learn that tearing one another down cannot be the future of democracy. That's why I wanted to release this episode, because I didn't want to bury Charlie Kirk's memory in bitterness, nor to exalt him into sainthood because he was not Mother Teresa or some saint. But he was like all of us, complicated. Good and ugly lived side by side in him just like it does in all of us. But again, his death is a chance for us to pause, to ask, what do we want our politics to be? Folks, let us not meet division with more division in this country and in this moment. Let us meet it with courage to be better. Let us remember that democracy is strongest when disagreement sharpens us, not when it shatters us. Charlie Kirk lived in the arena. He provoked, he inspired, he angered, he mobilized, and now he leaves us with a simple choice. What type of America do we want to become? What type of people do we want to be? We can keep marching down the road of hate, or we can honor the better angels of our nature. We can cling to the politics of enemies, or we can embrace the politics of neighbors. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're wondering, what does this moment mean for all of us? I hope that you're not jumping for joy because another human being has lost their life. I hope that you're reflecting. I hope that you're thinking about the dangers that this current heated political moment has brought to our nation. And let's take the lesson of Charlie Kirk's life and death, not to deepen our wounds, but to heal them, not to divide, but to unite as a community, not to settle for ugly, but to strive for good. That is the work before all of us right now. And that is the only way we protect the future of our nation. That is the only way we protect our First Amendment rights. That is the only way we protect our neighbors. That is the only way that we're able to disagree and still walk away knowing that that's your right. Folks, there are some trying times happening in America right now. There's some trying times happening around the globe right now. This moment This moment is a reflection. It's us looking into the mirror. It's us seeing the consequences of action, cause and effect in real time. No one in this country should lose their life for using all of the tools to express their First Amendment rights. That's no different if a person dislikes me for what I'm putting on my podcast or what I'm posting on social media. The same thing for you. If you're listening to this podcast, Charlie Kirk's life should be a reminder that there's going to be some folks who like and don't like what you do and what you say or what you believe. But that's your right as an American. Folks, we have got to do better, and we can do better. We have got to do better, and we can do better. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Politics Unfiltered. Let this episode be a reminder that there is still so much work to do. Never stop asking the tough questions. Never stop being willing to lend your voice to the tough conversations. Never walk away from the fight of protecting America, because it's all of our responsibility. Make sure that you follow me on social media at Hendrell. Leave a comment, share, subscribe, and review this podcast. And let's keep asking each other the hard question. What type of America do we want to become? And what type of people do we want to be? This is Politics Unfiltered, and I'm out.